I'll give you an easier question now. I'll give you an easier question
Yeah.
because there is something I have been wanting to ask you. Where did your love of horror come from?
Basically, once a week we'd go down to the video shop, good old movie land, and we'd always just rent movies. And there was, for some reason, there was always a copy of Poltergeist 3 in the house. And obviously, my parents, they let me watch stuff like Beetlejuice. And I remember I moved into a house before I turned 7 and The Lost Boys was on. And I knew I'd already seen it. So my parents will let me watch some stuff. But I don't, I don't know. I'm not sure what the actual movie was that started it. But there was always horror movies in the house.
Yeah,
I don't know why Poltergeist. I think because my brother saw it at the wrong age and people used to say, they're back to scare him sometimes. But there was always just a horror movie around. Like, and there was Ghostbusters, and watching Ghostbusters, I wanted to be a Ghostbuster. I always wanted to get a copy of Tobin's Spirit Guide, which you can get your hands on. I actually want to get one.
mm,
And I've just always liked just scarier stuff. And this is probably why when I was 5 and I first saw Elvira, I was like, I was the only sibling that had darker hair because I got a different mum from my older siblings. So they're all blonde, and I had brown hair. And I was like, wait, she gets to have dark hair in like horror movies. And I remember like trying to like pose myself like I was Elvira, like every time I saw her on screen. But I don't know. I think it was because horror movies were a late night thing as well.
mm,
So it was kind of like being sneaky, staying up past your bedtime, trying to watch a horror movie because they were
yeah,
always late at night.
yeah.
It would be like I was a teenage vampire. Creep Show was one that
Oh,
I
yeah.
absolutely loved. My parents like. I remember the first time I watched it, my parents were like, "You're gonna go to bed. It's too late." But I'm like, "But I want to see what happens." It was they creep up on you, the guy with the bugs,
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah. So I do remember I, I was allowed to watch them for some reason. I don't know. My parents just let me watch them, but it was Nightmare on Elm Street they were really kind of iffy about, and I was petrified of Freddy until I was 12. So maybe they
Yeah.
were right with that one. But yeah, they were always there. Even though my dad will say you like some pretty sick stuff, and I'm like, well, you started this. You brought them in the house,
Yeah.
especially with Child's Play. There was always, always remember the cover of Poltergeist 3 and the cover of Child's Play 2, Chucky with the scissors and the Jack in the Box. That one was always in the
Mm,
house as well. I don't know how many times we rented it, but
yeah.
yeah, that one was always. It was just always around.
No,
So
no,
yeah,
no, because
started
out of
started with 80s, and you can blame my parents.
no, yeah, I can do the same, but because I've talked to you all these years, and that's never come up. So I just thought, oh, we're doing something horror related, and because I know your love for horror is just, you've got so much love for it, and I always just wondered like where that came from. And no, thank you. Oh,
No, it's
that's
okay.
great.
It
Yeah.
wasn't until the last few years I've actually truly embraced it. Like when I was in high school, I was
Mm,
kind of standing out enough being like the fat kid at school. So I was like, I can't like horror movies as well there because I wanted to blend. I didn't want to be liked. I was like, just tell people she's all right, leave her alone, kind of thing. But
yeah.
I don't know. I went to Los Angeles, and having horror stuff, people kind of celebrated it. Like if I had
Yeah.
like a horror backpack, people go like, "Oh, your backpack's so cool." I never got that here, so now I'm kind of like, stuff everyone. I'm gonna like what I like, and if you don't like it, that's your own problem.
Yeah.
And obviously being older, having my own money, I've got access to see more stuff that I couldn't see when I was a kid, and
Yeah.
yeah,
And buying way more stuff than you could as a kid. Yeah.
I haven't bought anything for a while. I've been buying more books, but yeah, there's a lot.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot.
No, 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 it's all good. Because that's the thing. It's like, yeah, for me, it's like I think I mentioned like it was that Bram Stoker's Dracula coffin VHS that my dad had. So it was like that was really cool, with the book in it. Then it was like for me, it was Aliens, which weirdly has become my least favorite of that series. But
Because it's
um,
so active.
I think for me it's mainly because it's as I get older, it's like that's just a James Cameron action movie, and I didn't like the idea that he was trying to force the family unit onto Ripley, if you get me. Like the way he
Yeah.
stages like Newt and Hicks coming together quite a lot. Um, I'm gonna be quite controversial. I'm glad that Alien 3 went the way it went. Um, I love them as characters, Newt and Hicks, but for that kind of movie, it again, I like that if you think of Alien, she's very like Ripley is very androgynous in that, coveralls, not overtly feminine, and that's where James
Yeah.
Cameron, you know, I feel tries to. And look, I'm no expert. I'm a straight white guy from fucking England. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to, force any agendas, but that's my kind of thing, and that's why I like Alien 3. You kind of bring the androgyny and then morally complex character, and then obviously with the fourth one, I like the what they did with that. But yeah, just uh, yeah,
It's
like with
interesting
horror.
with Alien 3 going so androgynous because people say that Aliens is like the perfect example of like the feminine or the heroess journey or the
Mm,
heroine's journey. That's heroine's journey. My
yeah,
God, I couldn't think of the word. Yeah. So to go from that to go to yeah,
yeah,
quite interesting.
yeah, yeah. You're doing complete like, and that's why I love that franchise because it's like it's a never-ending, evolving just cube. You can never quite pigeonhole it, even though it's very similar, especially stylistically. Even then, it's still not because each director brings flourishes that are different.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, like for me, horror has been a massive part of my life as well. And yeah, I just remember my dad was like, "Yeah, be open to it, Rich. Be open to it. Open to film." And he'll hear what I've picked up, and he's like, "Why the fuck are you, why are you buying this?" And I always remember the I don't know, I don't think I've told this that there was two films that he was like. I remember the first time I told him I was going to watch Hellraiser, he was like, "Oh my God." He's like, "You mean the guy with the pins in the face?" I was like, "Yeah, I can't wait." He's like, "Oh, me and your mum couldn't get 5 minutes into that one." I was like, "Whatever," and but the big one was me and him had a big kind of fight over The Exorcist. So I was definitely double figures at that point. And he thanks guys for the gifting and everything. And yeah, he was just like, um, he was like, I don't want you watching it, Rich. And he was at that time when it first came out theatrically, and he heard a story of people unaliving themselves because they'd seen the movie. So he was
Yeah.
very, very cautious, yeah, very cautious. But I managed to persuade him one day, and I actually watched it on VHS. One of the last VHS tapes I kind of watched. And it was like, I always remember he was just like, look, keep your door open. I, we're here, and just remember it's a movie. And I remember watching that film, and it surprised me in the best way, like in the fact that it was just such a beautiful drama, and the ending to that film, I just wanted to cry. I thought it was magnificent, and I told him, I said I thought it was one of the most beautiful films I've ever seen. He was like, okay, but also like, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you enjoyed it, but it was, yeah, it struck me as just a complete work of art. Whereas I think, it kind of got that reputation because it was so good. It really did its job. And
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough now to actually see that theatrically. And I mean, I love that movie.
Are you planning on seeing the new one?
I am. Whether or not I get to see that theatrically, that's another thing because it's like I've just come off of a whirlwind week, and I want to kind of chill out, and I want to watch some movies. Like, it's been a whirlwind week at work, but I'd love to, but um, I know there's like Five Guys at Freddy's, but are you excited for the new Exorcist or?
I wasn't that excited when I heard that, but I heard the announcement that they were making it.
Mm,
When it comes to things that aren't original with Blumhouse, I find it to be very hit and miss. Like I was a fan of
mm.
Fantasy Island,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
I haven't really enjoyed the Halloween films. Like I haven't even watched Halloween Ends, and
yeah,
I don't know. I was just really worried that they just weren't going to capture what they were wanting to capture, just because they were going to go with CGI, just because there's money and they can't help it sometimes. But then I saw the trailer and I thought, nah, I don't know if I will. Like I'll probably watch it on Netflix, but I don't think I'll see it at the movies. And
no,
it's already got like I think it was like a 5.9 in IMDb, and I'm like, well, it's only going to drop. But
yeah,
then I'm
yeah,
hearing some people who are big horror aficionados who think it's actually a good movie. So obviously, I'll reserve judgment for when I see it. But there's
yeah,
nothing about it that's really luring me in, to be
yeah.
honest.
I mean, for me, I love the creative team behind Halloween, and they're doing this. I will warn you, if you didn't like Halloween and Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends might not be your bag. So if you can watch it on a streaming service or something, I would advise that. But yeah, I agree with you. I think, and I've had somebody say like Blumhouse is very throw everything out there and see what sticks, and it's kind of true, but that's what I like about them. You know, if you think like A24 is the classy version of that, you know, they really throw great, like, well, they throw varied kind of artistic director stylings at a wall, and I think Blumhouse is the commercial version of that. And I think both valid because I know people who love Fantasy Island and love Truth or Dare or any of their kind of properties, whereas I'm very mixed. You know, it depends on the people, but yeah, like for me, I just I'm down. Like if you're going to revitalize a property like Exorcist, and trust me, I mean I've got all five. That franchise is far from perfect. Like that franchise is all over the place. Um, but if someone's willing to do it and take a creative risk with it, you know, and I think a lot of the negative backlash has been people who got burnt by the Halloween films. Um, and that's not to say, you know, it's a vendetta. I think you know, once they knew it was David Gordon Green, Danny McBride, and obviously Blumhouse tackling it, and they didn't like Halloween. I think you kind of know if you're going to go into this one, you know, from personal taste, if you get me, you know,
Yeah,
and
because
and where
because
where, oops, sorry, I was just going to
no, no,
quickly
go
say
on, go
like,
on.
yeah, no, no, you're right. I was just going to quickly say like, whereas I enjoyed that, I'm um I would rather I'm as I liked Halloween, what they did with Halloween, sorry. I'm down for whatever they're doing with Exorcist because can't be worse than like Exorcist 2 and Exorcist the beginning.
But
I don't care what anyone says though. Yeah.
I don't feel for me that Blumhouse is really like a draw card. Like it's not a case of me saying, oh, it's one of their movies. I'll go see it because their original stuff that they've done has been really, really great. And granted, I feel like I was just listening to this on my mate's podcast on the Real Ramblers, and they were talking about how like Sinister and Insidious is their films, and so is Creep.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize that it actually was, but oh, well, Sinister, yes, but like Black Phone, that's an adaptation. That's one of theirs, isn't it? Black Phone.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, about to
Scott
say like
Derrickson. Yeah.
people
Yeah.
mentioned did not like it be right, but yeah,
No. No.
I actually quite enjoy it. I know a few people who didn't like it, but I actually thought that was a really good adaptation.
Yeah.
But I feel like, well, then again, there was only a book, so not many people. There's no other, a lot of people will watch movies more than they'll read books, so there's not, I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
No, you're all right. You take your time.
It, there's,
Yeah.
how do I say this? I don't think I can say it. I think my train of thought just disappeared because it's like 1 in the morning. Not to make you feel bad, I'm saying like yeah, it's getting late.
No.
Um,
No. You're fine.
I don't know because I don't know anyone who had read Black Book, Black Book.
Black Phone.
I saw a Black Book meme on my phone before. I don't know anyone who had actually like read the story Black Phone, but I know people who have seen Halloween and have already discussed it because there's the Rob Zombie ones and now these reboots and everything like that. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's kind of as close as you can get to original with Blumhouse these days.
yeah. Because it's also, yeah, it's like not really established IP, and then it's not like at their kind of like Halloween, Five Nights at Freddy's, like 15 to 30 million dollars. It's not a big budget,
Yeah.
and then they're not looking at it as a franchise. It's like it's its own singular thing. Yeah, I get you, and
But
it's
also,
great.
I think they could even stick with just doing a lot more horror comedies, like the Happy Death Day movies. They were fun
Yes, yeah, yeah.
and totally killer. I actually do want to see that. Apparently, it's like Scream meets Back to the Future.
Oh, you'll love it. You will love it. It is fantastic. I
I went
genuinely
looking
had a
for it
great time
yesterday
with that.
on Prime. I went looking for it yesterday on Prime, but I couldn't see it unless I just didn't dig enough for it. But see, like that, something like that, yes, because I know it's going to be fun. Freaky, that was fun.
Yeah,
But when it comes to their serious horror, especially if it's something that already has a gigantic fan base, I feel like they're just falling. Like Megan, people were saying, "Oh, it was stupid." Yeah, I watched it. It was silly, but I still had fun with it.
yeah,
But I don't know, Fantasy Islands just
yeah.
I don't
It
know,
was.
something like that. I just did not enjoy.
I don't mean to be, disrespectful, but I've noticed with Lucy Hale, she's someone that does very particular teeny kind of horror movies and rom-coms and stuff, and I've noticed that not my cup of tea. Whenever I've noticed a film that they do, not for me. But that's the thing as well. Once you kind of notice actors doing things, like because she did Truth or Dare and Fantasy Island
Yeah.
for Blumhouse. Just no.